two things, God and the Cats.
What's going on, everybody? Collin Neill here for Sam Houston SportsTalk. Going solo today. Luke Scott won't be able to join me, but we got a little bit of a jam-packed preview pod as we look ahead to Saturday's matchup, 6 p.m. Central Time on ESPN+. Sam Houston coming off of a win against Oregon State, their first win of the season, going up against Conference USA newcomer, having a lot of success in their first season in Conference USA. The Delaware Blue Hens, the Fightin Blue Hens, coming to town in Houston, Shell Energy Stadium. The Cats, of course, like I just said, coming off of a win against Oregon State, but this is not going to be an easy task. Another not so easy task for the Bearkats. The Blue Hens are having a fantastic first season in FBS. I mean, albeit they're 5-4, but hey, you know what? If you're in your first season of bowl eligibility in your first year of FBS, and hopefully they get rid of this dumb rule where if you're in your first year of FBS, you have to you're not eligible for a bowl. If they get the 6 wins, though, if Delaware does get the 6 wins, and there's not enough 6-win teams across FBS for the bowl games and whatever, you know what I'm getting to. I hope that Delaware, hopefully they don't do it at least against us. Hopefully not. But if Delaware does get the 6 wins, man, I really hope they file a petition. Same thing that Missouri State's doing right now. I really hope those two teams file petitions to say, hey, y'all need at least 2 more teams to compete in these FBS bowl games. We have 6 wins. We demand the right. Petition it. Boom. And that's a good look for Conference USA, to say the least. But to begin things here, we'll hear from head coach Phil Longo. We'll also hear from head coach Ryan Carty. And coming up later, I got to sit down with Huntsville Item sports editor Colton Foster to talk things Sam Houston, this game coming up, and basically his outlook on the season, how that's went. But first off, let's hear from the head honcho for Sam Houston, Longo. He talked a little bit about Delaware in this press conference, and he actually has a lot of respect for the Blue Hens.
Well, obviously we have a lot of respect for Delaware. You know, we've got a bunch of common opponents. They did a great job against La Tech, and we played them. We know what that team is about, and so we also know. Coach Carty's involved in the offense, and they're doing a good job on that side of the ball. Defensively, they are an absolute headache schematically. We've seen multiple teams this year, none more than this defense. And we'll see man, we're going to see zone, we'll see 2 high, we'll see 1 high, we'll see 3 safeties, we'll see drop 8, we'll see pressure. You name it, we're going to see it, and so. This is a game, and I just got done saying it to our players after practice this morning, where we need to be ultra prepared, both offensively and defensively, because they're multiple on both sides. And they're going to make us think, and they're going to make us try to make mistakes so they can take advantage of them. And so, this is a game about, at the end of the day, it's going to be the skills and fundamentals, but this is a game where the preparation during the week is going to play a pivotal role. In who's more efficient on Saturday. And then, it's an interesting game because I have some good friends on that staff. Terrence Archer was my receivers coach here at Sam Houston. When I was here the first time, I brought him with me, and we had a lot of great moments here on this field. Obviously, Ryan has been here. He was here after I was. And then the O-line coach there is also somebody I know very well. He's an offensive GA for us. So there's and I know a lot about Delaware because I'm back from out east, so that's close to where I grew up, and I'm very well aware of that program. So we are looking forward to Delaware. It's game 10 for us, and the most important thing about this game is we need the next win.
And of course, Ryan Carty, former offensive coordinator for Sam Houston, really an interesting matchup. You got the battle of 2 former Sam Houston offensive coordinators, of course, Longo being the head coach now, and Carty being the head coach at Delaware. We'll get more into Carty's quote-unquote homecoming in just a few moments because he spoke to the media. I was able to grab clips from that, 3 of them, rather, should say, talking about Sam Houston. But Carty, of course, being an offensive-minded head coach, we saw what he did here in his 4 years at Sam Houston, those last 2 years that he was here, where it was really explosive, dynamic, probably the high time of Sam Houston football when it comes to a consistent basis. Of course, Sam Houston off to a rough start. In essence, the FBS, 2 out of 3 seasons, not looking too good, but, you get that New Orleans Bowl win with 10 wins last year in 2024. But Delaware is led by Quarterback Nick Minicucci in 9 games this year, 61.7% completion percentage, over a little over 2,700 yards, 17 touchdowns. The average he has thrown the ball on average passing yards 302 yards. So they're really going to go to him a lot when it comes to the passing game. He leads the conference in touchdowns as well. He also has thrown just 6 interceptions. So he's got a really nice touchdown interception ratio. Just overall, I really like this guy. I think he's a really good player. I mean, Longo also talked a little bit about him and a little bit more about Delaware's offense.
He's fun to watch. I mean, he's talented. And, they do some things on offense and that you can't do with every quarterback. So it just tells me, and I certainly haven't talked to Coach Carty, but it just tells me he must have some confidence in his quarterback because they're doing some things schematically that, you've got to have a good, intelligent quarterback to do some of those things. And you've also got to be able to make some of those throws. And he's having a great season. I respect him. I think he's a really good at his position. He's the number one guy we're going to have to stop on defense, and he's got a good surrounding cast around him. So they are, I think they're feeling it on offense right now. So we have our hands full on defense. It'll be another very drastic change from one week to the next because they are nothing like what we just saw in Oregon State. So we have our hands full on that end, and then they're just as multiple defensively as mentioned. So it's going to be as much of an intellectual challenge, as much of a focused and preparation challenge for us this Saturday.
I kind of want to mention one thing, like, because Longo's mentioned a couple times how they're going to be probably the most difficult to prepare because of how complicated, in a good way, they like to run things offensively and defensively. But you know what? I would be much more worried about this game if they hadn't already had a win in the underneath their belts. Um, because I mean it's a bit of a weight, like it's a weight out the players as well. And Longo talked a little bit about potentially a weight getting off his shoulders. It's an interesting answer to say the least, but this plays into the context of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I know you want me to say yes, but truthfully, I'm not a big stress guy. What I am is really happy for the players. So I'm happy for them. I think it was good to get that off their back, right? Um, when I say I believe in the process and the staff believes in the process, and we've got the players, moving in the right direction, I believe it, and I know that to be the case. And to me, this is a build. Like there's a vision here. There's something we want to build. We want to create, and I know that we want that from the president right through the AD, right on down to our program. I believe that wholeheartedly. I know that to be the case, and I am focused on that big picture. And then when I have to get involved in the day-to-day operations, obviously I do, and that's what our staff has done. But I am very happy to get that off the backs of our players. And so right now, I said this last week. Uh, Very good coach in the past said they remember what you do in November, and so we've started November off the right way, and we're going to see if we can't continue that this Saturday.
Albeit it was not at the prettiest game. I'll keep saying that all over and over again when we're talking about in a couple of years about that Oregon State game in Corvallis. I am gonna keep repeating that sentiment. It wasn't pretty. It was ugly. It is what it is. But you know what? What matters is you got to win in the record column. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Getting that win. I mean, as Longo wants to. I mean, Longo's like just saying like. I mean, I mean, not a big stress guy. Um, he does make a point to say like, hey, it's that hump on his back of having no wins isn't just off of him and his coaching staff, or isn't just off of him. It's also off of his coaching staff, and also more importantly, the players. Imagine as a player, you're 0-8. You really just want to get that win, and you fought so hard, and you finally get one finally get one, especially on the road where no one, except for a few people I've heard, that gave you no chance. I mean, K Ford ratings had you as an 8% chance of winning. ESPN FBI had, believe, if I remember correctly, had 10% of the Bearkats pulling it off in Corvallis. And you know what? They did. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. And really, a lot of that was due to special teams. And I think special teams is going to be a big key going into this game up against the Blue Hens. And Longo talked a little bit about special teams and head coach Eric Raisback.
Well, I mean, he's really done a good job all year. He was an early hire. We worked together at Wisconsin. You know, he's been involved and run special teams at a number of Big Ten schools, including Penn State. And I think it's important if you want to prioritize special teams, you've got to have a coordinator do it. I didn't want to have an off the field coach do that. I wanted a guy that um, we wanted three coordinators, and so he came in. He handles our slot receivers on offense, but he is in charge of special teams all the way through. And then our position coaches have done a great job of supporting that aspect of our team, and so it has been the most consistent aspect out of the three, on our team this year. And uh, we have been close to making some plays that could be some game changers that could turn the tide. Um, this was the first game where we were able to knock down a few, and so Brody Henderson and Tim Burns were the recipients of the two biggest plays that we made on special teams. But it was a good concerted team effort in that aspect, and so Eric's done a good job, and I've been happy with the progress in that area.
A lot of progress, and in fact, it's the reason why you won the game, along with the defense, which the defense looked stout against Oregon State, especially after the Bearkats went down 17-0. The defense is going to have a tall task against an offense in Delaware, which we'll get to in a second. I do have some more sound bites you're going to hear from this segment from Coach Longo, but it's for a different reason. So stay tuned for that. Let's now head on to Coach Carty. Of course, Coach Carty, once again, former offensive coordinator at Sam Houston. So I want to ask him about thoughts on, homecoming, albeit it's not really in Huntsville, Texas. Of course, it's in Houston. And then he was asked about a couple players that were still on that were with him, that were there when he was there, that are still here. Here's the first soundbite from Coach Carty.
There's actually a couple, yeah, and Nick just reminded me of both of them. Christian Pavana, the kicker, and Iman Allen, the defensive back, who's having a heck of a year. We're both. I think it would have been pretty cool, especially if I'd say it was a question I was asked earlier, I'd say for Chris Rogers to maybe go back to Huntsville and play on his field that he played on. I think that would have been pretty cool. For us, it makes it a little bit easier. We can fly into Houston and play in Houston and not have to drive an hour and 20 up to Huntsville. So I'm excited about that. I think it'll be an unbelievable atmosphere and a pretty cool environment for us on a Saturday night at Shell Energy Stadium.
Carty makes a fantastic point there for a moment well, not intentionally, of course, but what I mean by that is this is the first time this season that there will be, you have a weekend home game at home game, quote unquote, at Shell Energy Stadium, and I don't know if the crowd's really going to really help. It is an evening game, 6 p.m. Maybe be different if it was a 11 a.m. kickoff or whatsoever, but it is a 6 p.m. kickoff, so it'll be dark out. It'll be cool when the ball is kicked off in Shell Energy Stadium. So I don't know, kind of interesting point there. By the way, Chris Rogers, if you heard that last part, Rogers coached the Sam Houston tight ends from 2018 to 2019. He joined the Sam Houston staff in 2017 as a quality control assistant. Of course, he was the team's offensive line coach as well for 2 seasons, which helped the Bearkats to the national championship in 2021. And really, an interesting fact here from Delaware's website, all 5 starting offensive linemen earned all conference honors under Rogers' guidance. So pretty cool. And it's just unfortunate that this game where Delaware's coming to Texas is not taking place in Huntsville. Oh man, the storylines. Oh man, and if Keeler was still here. Oh man, the more and more storylines. Man, that's a missed opportunity a little bit, but it is what it is. The schedule is the schedule. Carty was also asked by the media similarities between his offense and Longo's offense.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's funny is that, there was a 2-year period of my life where there was a lot of comparison between myself and Phil Longo, because I took over for him basically at Sam Houston, and they had been so successful and very similar, but also different. And he would tell you the same thing. I think there's things that we do similarly and there's things that we do differently. And there are also things that, we take from each other, because that's how, offensive brains work usually. And so, what he does really well is yes, it's an air raid type of system. And I think as he continues to build that program and get the pieces that he wants in there, and make sure that he's got the surrounding cast around some good quarterbacks, I think he's going to have the ability to kind of showcase exactly what he believes in. And so I think you will see some things that are similar. And I think you'll also see some things that are different. I think the things that we believe in are doing whatever it takes to get the ball down the field, and making sure that, we have a good run game with a complementary pass game, and understanding that, tempo does matter, but also getting in the right play call matters as well. And so I'd say the thing that we probably believe in the most similarly is getting the ball to people in space that are good with the ball. And so that's something you'll probably see from both sides.
We'll get more into that, because I think Carty kind of already told me what one of the keys will be for Sam Houston coming into this game. We'll get into that in our keys and predictions. We'll dive more into that. And Carty had this one last thing about not being complacent.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the thing that helps you is the way that our team is kind of built, right? There's never anything about the future other than this week, almost day to day. And that's all we talk about, is being 1-0 and winning today, and making sure that we beat Sam Houston on a Tuesday, and then on a Wednesday, and then on a Thursday. Not necessarily going to happen on a Saturday unless we've banked those reps that have gotten us to this point, and that confidence in our preparation that has gotten us to this point. And so, I don't think we have to spend too much time on records and those kinds of things. I think the other thing that has been proven, this league is good enough every week to beat you, and we're probably good enough to win most of the games we play each week as well. That margin for error is so small in our transition year here. We have good enough players to win every game, but we're not good enough to go out there and beat people if we don't play clean and we don't play well and we don't prepare well. That's been proven. And so we have to make sure that we go out there and win on the road, which is not easy to do, and it's not something we've done this year other than our first, our one down there at FIU. And so we have to continue to prepare well for these next couple of days, and that's what we're focused on a little bit more than anything else. And so we have to know our opponent inside and out. We have to know what they're good at, know what their strengths are, know what makes them tick. But what their record is, that really doesn't matter to us.
That was all the coaches' audio for this preview pod. And before we hand things off back to me, and my sit down with Huntsville Item sports editor Colton Foster, I want to play a couple more clips. I don't know what I was doing. I guess I was researching a little bit more about Longo's offense, because I still want to try to understand it a little bit better, just to kind of understand what he likes to do, what he likes to run, and all that good stuff. And I come across this news package from KBTX, Channel 3 out there, and I was kind of intrigued about this one part of the news package that I think we all really should have taken more seriously. If we all didn't really hear it, we all should have probably taken it more seriously when it comes to this season, when it came to our expectations and such. I'm just going to go ahead and play it, and I'll let you be the judge of it.
Next 5 months will be the toughest. And then, we're just working on trying to get better every day. But I think after this first season, we're going to be able to get this program where we want to. We want to be conference champion, Conference USA champions every year. That's going to be our goal every single season.
That was 8 months ago. 8 months ago. And all the way back in March. So before everything really went down with the week 0 stuff, getting WKU in week 0. Still trying to bring in a lot of the transfers. I mean, this was back in March. I think this was back in March. Let me find real quick. And I think one of the key things, though, when it comes to Longo, when it comes to this year, is keeping the culture there. And if y'all remember, I believe it was Caleb Holloway, who led the chant. You know, if you ain't a cat, you ain't. Yeah, I'm not going to say it family friendly here. But I asked Longo about keeping that sort of culture going, really how important it is, and this was his answer.
It was all the way back to 2014 when I first got here, and I think it existed with Willie Fritz, and I don't know this, but it wouldn't surprise me if it ran itself all the way back into the Ron Randall days. You know, when you have a program that has won consistently over such a long time like Sam Houston has, there are things that develop. There are routines, there are traditions, there are expectations. There's a culture that develops, and because there are returning players, a lot of those positive traditions, that positive culture, that expectation to win remains. And so as you move through different coaches, those things still exist. I still remember when I first got to Ole Miss, there was no standard that I or any other coach on the offensive staff needed to set in the wide receiver room. It had been set for the last 10, 15 years in that room. And when A.J. Brown and D.K. Metcalf and DeMarcus Lodge and Elijah Green and Elijah Moore, all those guys came into that room, they were held to a standard there that kind of existed and lasted through 3 or 4 different coaches. And it was really amazing to see that room produce the way it did, both in practice and in the game. But it was a standard and a culture that existed there that was stronger than what coach was there. And that is the same thing that exists here. You know, there are some things that go on in this building, in this locker room, far more than just that chant that you heard, that exist here. And they're here for good reasons. And so you want to embrace them, and you want that to become part of this era. And I certainly plan on hearing that chant far more often in the future.
I point that out mainly because it's important that the culture that has been around, winning culture, I want that. I want to preface that. And when we had on Davion Davis, and I was probably in a former Sam Houston, I should have went ahead and I should have went back and grabbed the specific soundbite. But he said that Longo was a key thing in keeping in the culture that built up there, especially when Keeler arrived. So, and we combine with that KBTX clip, I think that there was a plan, national plan, and I think maybe this year was really a rebuilding year. And Colton Foster will talk more about it. I mean, you can't really necessarily have a rebuilding year in this day and age of college football. But with Sam Houston's situation, one, again, you're not playing at home. Two, you don't have that. The NIL is not exactly popping at Sam Houston. And right now, especially with the press box being renewed and all that. Oh, and yeah, you're not playing your home games at home. And oh, yeah, you have to go travel to Bowling Green for week 0. Oh, you're going to have to face UNLV as well. Oh, you're going to have to go to Hawaii. Oh, and you're also going to have to face Texas. And we can go on, but excuses are excuses at the end of the day. But they're at least, to me at least, they're good. And so, yeah, I don't know. I thought that clip was interesting. I wanted to share that with y'all. And I talked to Colton about it a little bit, especially this upcoming season. And we get to that convo next year on Sam Houston Sports Talk. Once again, if you haven't already, be sure you subscribe today. Follow us on all of our social media outlets, Spotify. Follow us today and share. We're trying to build the audience here, get people more well in tune to where they can get their Bearcat talk. But either way, guys, after I get done with talking to Colton Foster, we will get to our keys and predictions, looking at PFF grades and such, and looking at some more things as well to get you prepared. Keep tuning right here on Sam Houston Sports Talk. We'll be right back. All right, joining us in preparing for this Saturday's matchup for the Bearkats against the Delaware Blue Hens. First time ever meeting the Bearkats and Blue Hens, by the way, are meeting. But they're led by head coach Ryan Carty, and someone that saw Ryan Carty here, and is pretty well versed on that, and also on the Bearcats as a whole. It's Huntsville Item's own sports editor Colton Foster. Colton, thank you for hopping on, man. To talk real quick about this matchup, it kind of interesting storylines. The battle of two former Sam Houston offensive coordinators.
Yeah, man, it's interesting. Having two of those guys on this field is, their respective head coaches is something you don't see very often, and it should set up for a good matchup on Saturday night.
Well, I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about Carty, because you, of course, saw him in his 2 seasons there. You saw the national championship game and all national championship run and all that good stuff. Just kind of what was your perspective on Carty's tenure here at Sam Houston before he went off to the Northeast?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, he was one of those OCs that they were going to score a lot of points. He was here for that 21 wins and was it 22 games, I think it was at the end of the time. They had Eric Schmid, they had just a bunch of guys. They were gonna Ramon Jefferson comes to mind. I mean, this was just a high-powered offense that was going to move the ball down. We all know what Eric Schmid did against South Dakota State with that touchdown to I believe it was Ife there in the end zone for the win. He's just a guy he's running that high-powered offense. He wants to move the ball down the field, and you know, he just wants to get the ball to his playmakers and just let them make plays and ultimately get the offense going and hope that you can get points on the board quickly and in a hurry.
Yeah, and then he, of course, went off. After that Montana State game in 2022 in that FBS in the FCS playoffs after they won the national championship. As I've heard, a lot is that the office was like cleared off after the game. But hey, listen, I'm pretty sure you agree with me on this. Like, if you have a chance to go back up and like coach for your alma mater, that's basically kind of like a dream job.
Yeah, and from what I've kind of sounded like, as soon as that Montana State game ended, he was gone. It sounds like it was basically his job, and he took it. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, there's nothing better than going back and coaching your alma mater.
Yeah. Well, now to kind of get onto the Bearcats real quick. Of course, Colton, 1-9 season. They're coming off of the very fun, interesting win over Oregon State this past Saturday, and to finally get that first win, 2 out of 3 seasons. This is your first 3 seasons, two of your first 3 seasons in FBS. You had to start 0-8, and you find. I mean, hey, you know what it is. What it is. You finally got to win this 0-8. No longer you're 1-9. I mean, you got to win in the win column, though. But Colton, what's been your perspective on this season? I know pretty well what your perspective is, but I kind of want you to tell the audience what your perspective has been on this season.
Yeah, I know people want to try to say it's similar to the 2023 season, and the record is, but the games just don't feel that way. That season, it felt like in most of the games they were in it. Outside of a handful, the BYU and the U of H game were the two that were basically out of hand. Well, I guess the BYU game was 14-0. But outside of those games, I think every game was one score. Casey Keeler's tagline for last year in 24 was, "We lost 8 games on 8 plays. We have to go find those 8 plays." And they did. I mean, let's be real. They found those 8 plays and they went and they flipped all the scripts in the one score game. They were able to go into the transfer portal and they were able to get guys at the last minute like Isaiah Cash, who became just total difference makers for this team. But this year, you don't really have that feel. There's that feel of, well, I think you lost your first 3 games by 17 points, then you get 55-point blowout to Texas. And then you come back and it doesn't feel like they're in any of these games. Even the Oregon State game, I mean, they were in it, but it felt like, okay, at what point is Oregon State gonna just figure this out and go? And they never did. And credit to Sam Houston's defense and special teams on that one, because without that, they're probably looking at 0-9 for the first time in school history. I just think it's one of those that, sometimes you just need a break. Is this the break they need? Can they do what, the 23 team did and win three of the final four? I don't know. The schedule shapes up to it. I mean, what is it? It's home versus Delaware, at Middle Tennessee, and then home versus FIU. FIU is a solid team this year. Middle Tennessee is still Middle Tennessee and towards the bottom, but I think this Delaware game is a toss up, and it will be interesting to see what this team can do without Hunter Watson. But ultimately, I mean, I think they can figure out a way to win a handful of games and do what they did in 23 and ride off into the next season with a win, with a positivity, and then you can try to plug in place like you did a couple years ago. But I don't know, how much difference that's going to look this year or next year.
Do you think maybe this? Do you think maybe this win is what all this team needs in the end, just to kind of go ahead and just get that, just to kind of get rid of that zero in the win column? Because I mean, because after we saw that in 2023, I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly that this is definitely not 2023. This is much worse, albeit it has its own circumstances. But sometimes, hey, all a team needs is a win, and then once they're relaxed, then they go out there and they just play their game.
For sure. I think like we've talked about, you get that, hey, we can't do it. And it's one thing that we've even talked about with some of the local high school coaches is situational confidence, being able to realize, hey, we can do it. Hey, what we're doing can result in this. It's just stuff like that. It gives you that little extra confidence. You go to practice every day, and I think it's 6 days a week or 5 days a week for them, and you're putting in all this hard work, and you're putting in all this hard work, and then all of a sudden you get to game days and you lose by 17, then you lose by 55, and you lose by whatever. But then finally you get that win. So you just have that confidence. Okay, what we're doing, it can work. And I think, like I said before, I mean, I don't know if you can go out and win three of the final four, but certainly it gives you that opportunity to know that what you're doing is working, and you can, use it well in the future.
How big? I mean, it is. I mean, it's big for the players, of course, but I can imagine it's also big for Coach Longo, who has dealt with a lot of criticism. But and most of the time, it's rightfully so, of course. First year being a head coach since you know his days at LaSalle, over 7,300 days since the last time we got a head coaching win. Head coaching win. I have to preface that head coaching win, not just a win. But and I can imagine though maybe that this is what he needed to, like, hey, okay, now that's going. I can, maybe things can get a little bit better for him. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, and we've asked him, and what did he say? He's not a stressed guy. I don't remember the exact quote, but he said he knows he wants the answer to be yes, but it's not, and whatever. Ultimately, I guess at the end of the day, we're not him. It's not our job to coach the team and get wins. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just another one of those things that, like I said before, you're telling everybody, hey, we're building for this, we're building for this. This is a stepping stone. But then you're just 0-8, 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 0-4, 0-5. Hey, this is a stepping stone. This is a stepping stone. 0-6, 0-7. It's a step 0-8, and then you get that win. And against, I mean, we can talk about how bad Oregon State is all we want this year, but you still beat a Pac-12 team that paid you $1.2 million to go and assisted with the buyout of Air Force to get that game. And I think they're on the schedule to come to Huntsville in 2031. I think that's the year. I doubt that one's going to happen anymore, but you never know, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what the buyout terms are for that if Oregon State decides to. And hey, you know, like you said though, you went up there, you went up to Corvallis, you get a win up on the West Coast, 9 p.m. on the I want to preface this one more time, on the CW network, which was in which that broadcast was interesting in its own right. Just kind of I found this clip. I can't play it right now because I forgot to clip it, and I don't think you would be able to hear it anyway because I don't think a Zoom would work that way. But it's that video. It's that video I showed you. That I showed you before. Where it was that sit down talk with KBTX. And Longo basically said like, "Hey, after this first year, we want after this first year, we will get this football team or program where we want to." Do you think? And then that was a long time ago. That was 8 months ago. That was before the season. That was way before the season started. Do you think that's what we should have been looking at this season the entire time? Do you think that's a fair assessment, or do you think still that it's still pretty much a disappointment?
I think in this day and age, you can't really look at seasons as rebuilding seasons anymore with the transfer portal and I mean obviously NIL, but the NIL at Sam Houston isn't, anything um great or to go towards players. So I think it's tough to just say, hey, this year, okay, whatever the record is, whatever the record is, especially at a program that's known for winning, and has been a competitive team for so long. I just I have a tough time thinking that that's how it can be or should be. But let's be real, everything was against this team going into it. Longo was hired, I think it was December 29th. I mean December 19th, a day before the bowl game.
Hmm.
I believe it was after the first portal window was either already it was open already or opening like in a day.
Yeah,
But it was
it was pretty much at that time where a lot of the players had already said I'm going to the portal and I'm going to this school, and so you
it,
for the second one really.
and there's no telling. I mean, if they hire him on December 9th, I mean, there's no telling if those guys stay. I mean, a handful of those guys went and got paid. Like we mentioned, Isaiah Cash, he went to Virginia Tech. Caleb Weaver went to was it Kentucky or was it Duke?
Duke, Duke.
I get the Blues mixed up.
They're both not known for their football, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so it's just stuff like that that I don't know how many of those guys you get back, but you probably have a chance. And losing Skylar Cassidy to UNT. I mean, y'all know that defense is basically what the Bearcat defense looked like last year. But maybe you can keep like a Simeon Evans. Maybe you can convince him to take his name out of the portal, and you get a strong wide receiver back. And that's just not how it went. And it's one of those. I guess Longo's tagline this year was 55 new players and 33 of them came after the what was it spring workout, so they were only here for summer and training camp. And there's not a whole lot of football games that you can win when you have 33 guys that you met on June something and they're trying to move in while you're trying to run your summer program. And then all of a sudden, by the time everybody's here, you're in, fall training camp. And, that's just one of those things that I think it takes time. And, this, I just, you're playing all your games in Houston. You don't have a home stadium, albeit you get to practice in it. But every game is at least, I think it's 73 miles away, no matter where it is. So this just wasn't a year that was expected to be something. But at the same time, it's college football in 2025. And if you're not winning games, then ultimately, you know, that's what it boils down to these days is winning games. It doesn't matter what the situation is because for the most part, everybody has the same guidelines. Now, can everybody follow them? No. But with the transfer portal, the way you can build things and the way you can go out and just get, people, there's I just don't know if the rebuilding is something that you can claim. And I think we're seeing that too with coaches. There's not the hey, we're going to come in and get our guys, and then in 2 or 3 years we're going to be competitive.
Yeah, especially since you see all the head coach firings across the country, especially this season. This head coaching carousel and transfer portal is going to be wild, considering this upcoming offseason. It's only going to have one portal window. So it'll be quite interesting to say the least. And moving back though into this matchup, of course, Longo said earlier this week that he is not. He says that Hunter Watson is out, and we saw the two deep. Hunter Watson's name is out of it. It's either Maber Matoyer or Landon Locke. What do you think? Should they just go? Should they just do the same thing like they did against Oregon State and go ahead and throw out Mabry to start? Or do you think that Locke actually has a chance to make his first career start? I mean, in what would be his final game before he burns a red shirt?
I don't know, and Longo kind of toe tapped that answer about the red shirt. Um, I mean, I think in one of the next few games, you should probably let Landon start if he really is the guy that you want for the future. That seems to be how everything's pointing is he's, potentially QB1 next year. So yeah, especially with Hunter out, I think it just depends. If you think there's a chance Hunter can come back for Middle Tennessee and Florida, I say why not? Give Landon the start. Let him see what he can do for a full 60 minutes on the field. I think, you let Hunter play as long as he's healthy, and just let him finish his last two games of his collegiate career. But then, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think if you do Landon locked Saturday, then I just don't see it. I don't see a thing with it. I think we've seen Mabry Matoyer a handful of times now when he just hasn't been, um, you know, up to par. And is that because he doesn't have the reps? Is that because of all the inconsistencies with the offense? I mean, I don't know. So I don't. But if Locke's the future, I think you have to give him a start. The problem is you toe tap that line of do we burn his red shirt, but you also have a handful of other quarterbacks that you can use. If you really do want a red shirt in, maybe you could bring in like a DJ Bailey as the backup, and then now Landon, you can either not even dress him for the last two. But yeah, I mean, I think if he's really your guy, I think he needs to get at least one start in the last three. But as long as Hunter's healthy, I don't think you should be using anybody but Hunter.
Yeah, I've always just been on the fence, like if you can play a guy, go out there and like let him play like a couple of games, even if you're attempts to redshirt him as a true freshman, because I mean it's nice to at least get some film on them to like be like, okay, this is what we need to analyze, this is what we need to get better at for next year. Um, now
But
that go ahead.
I will say this though, is if you start him and then all of a sudden if he goes 30 of 39 for 400 yards and six touchdowns, then what happens? Because now all of a sudden you can't, do you not use him the other two games, or do you just kind of, hey, this is how it's going to go? Obviously the season's a loss at this point. I think your best record you could finish with is what, 4-6 or 4-7 or 4-8, sorry.
4-8, yeah.
Um, and so it's just kind of one of those that I think you have to kind of judge that line of what happens if we throw him out there, he just lights it up, and then do you bench him?
I mean this team's not ideally playing for any postseason, so I mean I would hope that at least for the outsiders looking in, it would make sense as to why he wouldn't want to play him the last two games. I am curious to see if DJ Bailey gets some time if Hunter is not able to go, especially if Hunter's not able to go last week because we all know that it's a knee issue that he's dealing with, and if I were to put money on it, it's probably that same knee that he had to deal with in the spring of last year, before the 2024 season where he had that knee scope procedure. Just I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting how all this works now, especially in these days of college football. You would think it'd be a slam dunk to have Landon red shirt, and then but there's a lot of fear of him being poached and all that sort of stuff. It's weird. It's interesting, but hey, however it plays out is however it plays out. I will say the one guy that has really emerged this year, Colton, that I think, as Longo pointed out a couple weeks ago, that probably needs a lot more credit than he deserves, than or not that he deserves that he's getting right now is Coco Brown. I mean, we've been hearing this guy's name for years, especially by Keeler. Like, hey, this guy's really good. Y'all are gonna really like him or whatever he said that one a couple times about Coco Brown, but he's really, Longo's come in and all of a sudden Coco Brown's getting the playing time, albeit probably due to a couple of injuries, but he's really shown up along with Chris Reed. So at the wide receiver position, so there's playmakers on there that are showing up, and maybe it could be a part of the stepping stone into next year.
For sure. And was it the Jack State game where Chris Reed kind of had his showing out?
Yeah.
Since that game, I mean, I feel like he's been one of the top receivers. But I mean, even for them, one of the things Longo said a lot was we just need consistency at the quarterback position, but they never had it. I mean, what you start Hunter against Western, and I believe he played the full game.
Hmm.
Then you start Hunter against UNLV, and then you bench him
He got,
from Matoyer.
yeah.
Then Hunter's injured for Hawaii, so you start Matoyer and then play lock. Then Hunter comes back for Texas and he plays the full game. Ooh, now I can't remember what happened after Texas, what the game was. But I
It's
believe Hunter started the next few games, and he was the only quarterback that played. And up until halftime of the UTEP game, the offense was starting to figure it out and starting to click. I think we saw that Jack State. I mean, we saw Hunter throw probably the prettiest ball of his career to Tim Burns against UTEP, and ultimately Burns dropped it. But
It was
you
New
know, I
Mexico. It was New Mexico
New
State
Mexico,
game
yeah.
after Texas. Yeah.
But it was just one of the like you started to see that consistency, and then everything was going right, or it felt like it was trending in the right direction. And then all of a sudden, Hunter goes out with the concussion at UTEP, and then it just feels like this team hasn't fully figured it out since. But yeah, like you said with Coco Brown too, Keeler a handful of years ago, I think it was the 23 season or the 22. Those two kind of locked in with me because they were both so
Weird.
interesting in their own ways. But yeah, I mean, I think we're finally seeing it, especially with this running back room that's similar to how the running back room of the past was, where it was injury after injury, and the one year you had, was it Adrian Murdahl was running the ball, was
Yeah.
a
2023.
walk on wide receiver was your starting running back or your second string running back. So yeah, I think Landon Brown is just one of those that he sees the opportunity with the injuries to Elijah Green and Alton McCaskill, and he's making the most of it. And we've been told he can do it, and I think he's just finally getting able to have his moment.
Real quick, your take on the defense. I mean, this defense, of course, has been not the best, of course, that we've seen, and of course that we're kind of we're all kind of spoiled because the defense last year was really really good. And do you think this year the team is just a product of just having so many new faces?
Yeah, I think it's a product of the new faces as well as getting in a new scheme. I mean, let's be real. Could you have named anybody on the defense in week at the first day of training camp besides like a Tyler Bailey
CJ Johnson, Iman Allen,
and
like the guys
Von
that
Allen?
returned. Yeah, no, it took me a while. I was like, oh no, this is going to take me like a week or two to like really learn everybody's name.
It's just one of those where you lose all 11 starters from the bowl game, and I don't know, you probably lose your top 15 or 16 defensive players due to graduation in the portal. So yeah, I think everybody kind of knew it was going to be a real rebuilding year on the defensive end. But I mean, and we've talked about, I think it was the Hawaii game. It was another one of those things where it looked like everything was trending in the right direction. And then all of a sudden, after the UT game, and the UT game is the UT game, I don't think very many people didn't think that was going to be the result. But then, New Mexico State blows you out. And then, it just doesn't feel like this defense can get anything going. And so I just think it took a little bit of time, and they had some injuries too. I mean, we can't overlook that. Jameer Diaz going out against Texas, that's tough. And I mean, you'd have to assume at this point he probably is. I think he has a red shirt left, at least maybe a medical red shirt. So you got to figure maybe he's able to take one of those because I think he only had that 3 game or 4 game mark.
Mhm.
Um, and then CJ, is it CJ Brown?
Yeah,
Um,
he was out for a couple weeks.
he was out for a couple weeks. I think they lost some of their key guys that they needed to help this defense work.
Yeah, and I will say though the while the offensive play calling has been under its own criticism, the defensive play calling has also. I feel like the low point that they say. I mean, they're all going to say that La Tech was the low point of the season. 50 that that blowout loss, but I feel like the low point of the season was definitely that it was against. And I'm probably stretching a little bit here, though, Colton. You can pull me back whenever if I'm stretching too far. Is that Jack State game where you had it seemed like you had the win in the bag, but then you gave them a quick out, um, right to the sideline, give them closer to a field goal. Jack State's kicker kicks a 52 yarder, and those 5 yards ultimately became the difference. Just I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if you consider that the low point, but I consider that the low point because man, you could have got that win right there, and heck, who knows what that could have done.
Yeah, and we've talked about that too. If you get that win, what happens the rest of the year? Because maybe you get that win, and then all of a sudden against UTEP, you come out and you have your swagger back, and you have that that hey, we can do it mindset. We did it last week, we can do it again. And it wasn't like, Jack State hit this just comment. I mean, I believe it was a program history long field goal to win it. So I just think that was one of those deflating ones, and as we've talked about, not a lot of deflating one score games this year. So the finally you had one, you had it in the bag, and then you didn't. And so I just think it probably took a little more out than I think you're right. I think it was probably the low point because I think that was one that you look back and say, man, we should have had that one.
Yeah. Well, Colton, as time winds down for us, of course we all because we both have responsibilities. Of course, you more so do than I, of course. But just kind of what's your feeling about going into Delaware this Saturday, and just kind of I was wondering if you already had a prediction in mind. I mean, I know we're recording this on Thursday, and we're a couple days away from Saturday. I've told you that it could be. I mean, I already told you that for some reason I feel like it'll be a stupidly close game for no reason, but just for why not purposes. Just kind of what's your outlook on it and a prediction that you have.
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, these are one of the two or two of the three worst defenses in Conference USA.
By the way, I want to point something out real quick. I want to give you a spotlight on this. I want you to kind of highlight how much confidence you had in Delaware even before the season began.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think there's a stigma with teams moving up to the FBS from the FCS level, and I think everybody falls into it. Um, and Sam did it, so it hits close to home. But I think there's just that stigma. So every time you move up, you think, hey, they're not going to, they don't have it. They can't, they don't have it in them. They can't do it. But I mean, they've proved everybody wrong. Last week they come out and get a 1 point win over Louisiana Tech, and like they're kind of like, okay, maybe this team is real. Them and Missouri State this year have been two, crazy programs, and really, what them two and JMU are gonna be three teams that have caused stirs with the NCAA about getting eligibility in their first year as the FBS programs because they've got that 6 win mark or potentially get to that 6 win mark. So yeah, I think this day and age, I don't know if there's the argument to be had that hey, this is that big of a step up anymore with the portal and all of that. But yeah, I mean, I think we can all sit here and we got to look and say, hey, yeah, Delaware is probably going to be at the bottom of the conference. They might be a similar situation to Sam, but man, Ryan Carty has the boys playing up there.
So going into this, what's your prediction?
I, I I think it all. I think a lot of it falls on what the Sam Houston offense can do. I think we're going to see two of the worst defenses in Conference USA. So you can probably expect some points to be scored. The problem is, it's not like we've really seen the Sam offense go out and just score points. So if it gets into kind of that shootout match, I don't know. Um, but I don't know. Let's see. Let me say, I'll say. I think Delaware either wins it or misses it on a field goal attempt late.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
think I think we're gonna have one of those like
It's
30, 37, 35 score, something weird that you don't know, or Sam can squeak out a win from like a missed field goal or something.
so it's just going to be another football game that we're all going to come out of and like that made no sense, but okay, whatever.
I think so.
Oh man, it'll be interesting this Saturday, 6 p.m. kickoff on ESPN Plus. Once again, the Bearkats and Blue Hens meeting for the first time in their program's history. Two former Sam Houston offensive coordinators going at it. One was here for 4 years in what was the most successful time in program history, and the other when Case Keeler got here for the first time to build up the progressing winning culture that came to be. Colton, appreciate you for hopping on. If y'all want to check out Colton's work, of course, it's on the Huntsville Item. His media, or his not his media, his social media is in the description below. All right, thank you to Colton Foster once again for joining us. It's time to get our keys and predictions. First, let's look ahead at this matchup. Right now, it is Sam Houston having a 35.3% chance according to matchup predictor on ESPN Analytics. Looking at the spread right now for the Cats on Saturday, it is 9.5 point underdogs. They open up as 8 point underdogs on Circa Sports, but the CBS has them at 9.5 point underdogs over under 56. Let's go ahead and take a look at some offensive grades for the Delaware Blue Hens. Just to give you an idea of what they're facing. The defense is not the best in Conference USA. Don't let those PFF analytics fool you. It hasn't exactly been the best this year for the Delaware Blue Hens. They are 10th in conference in points per game, allowing 31.2 points per game. Of course, though, Sam Houston defense being the worst, allowing 38.2 points per game. When it comes to, I thought I had the yards right here, but either way, these are two of the bottom defenses in Conference USA outside of Middle Tennessee, who are second to last. So it would depend wholeheartedly on if Watson, if whatever the quarterback situation is, or how it really improves. Hunter Watson, of course, as y'all heard early on in the week, is not playing this week. So it's either going to be Landon Locke, maybe Ratoria, or maybe we even see DJ Bailey. Who knows? The talk around Landon Locke is that he could be most likely the guy. Who knows? That's my prediction. Y'all know my opinions on it. So Locke has one more appearance before he can't really play anymore if he wants to keep a red shirt and keep 4 more years of eligibility. So it'll be very interesting to see who goes out there to start for the Bearkats to begin. My money's on Locke, but what do I know? I am just a fool. Of course, y'all should probably take whatever I say when it comes to analyzing football with a grain of salt, because I know a lot, but I don't know a lot at the same time. Looking at the offense for Delaware, this is what the defense is going to be facing. Again, this is a really good offense. Third in Conference USA in total points, 28.8 points per game in 9 games. Just gonna have to, build off of what you did against the Oregon State Beavers. They are first in Conference USA in yards per game, 417.4 yards per game. Of course, you got Minakuchi as their quarterback. You got to really keep an eye on that. If they kind of want to expose a few things, maybe it's that offensive line, but the coverage has to be good. You'll probably see a lot of nickel looks. Of course, that's the base defense for Coach Freddie Autry-Lindsay, but you are going to have to at least contain the passing game. Keep going with the bend, don't break. Don't let Delaware get in the end zone too often. They are going to get in the end zone, but I am totally fine with giving up quite a lot of field goals in this game to give the offense a chance. I do think the special teams, though, is going to be a big key. So that's just a good look. Again, this is not all the players that are going to play, of course, but that is typically the look that they are going to go with. One last thing I want to look at before I get to my more of the keys and predictions. Wanted to give y'all a look at K Ford, what his analytics are saying, what his numbers are saying. 33% win percentage against Delaware. Of course, you see 124 out of 136 when it comes to defense. Doesn't rate the offense too highly at 89, but it's still pretty good, pretty decent. I was surprised it was that low, 59 on the special teams. So maybe it could be a good one there to look out for. As you can see, Sam Houston 134 overall, 133 offense, 131 defense, but special teams 64. So at least the special teams are going the way they can. K Ford has Sam Houston at a 73% chance of getting at least another win, 29% of getting 3 wins, and 4% for getting 4 wins. So can the Cats really do something in what they did in 2023 where they get at least 3 out of 4? I mean, that would be really nice momentum heading into next season. I think Middle Tennessee is beatable. I think FIU is beatable. It's just going to come down to, can they play all 3 phases of the game right? It's not going to be every night, I will say, where your special teams, of course, is going to get you, what do you call it? It's going to get you 2 touchdowns, kickoff return for touchdown and a block punt return for touchdown. But I do think the special teams is still going to be very important in all regards. If the offense is going to struggle a little bit out of the gate, which I kind of expect to happen, you're going to need Duran to do his best. And Duran has been fantastic for a freshman this year. I really like that addition to the special teams room. He's been awesome to see. And the thing is, he's doing good right now as a freshman. He can only just go up from here. The return game, though, when the defense does, and hopefully force Delaware to punt quite often, they're going to need a good return game, and also everyone needs to just be disciplined on that. One thing that the Bearkats have done pretty well this year is not commit too many penalties. It's just the timing, of course. Of course, you saw the illegal man downfield, the holding in 2 situations where it would have made the Bearkats' lives a lot easier. But again, though, I think this is going to come down to discipline, especially on the defensive end. The offense for Delaware is very complicated to face. Do not be caught eyeing, the wrong area. Just stick to your assignments, and I think they'll be just fine. The D lineman being healthy is very key. I wonder how that's going to go. But offensively, I think you really just have to keep on establishing the run and then getting the passing game going. Whoever starts, I don't know. I think it's going to be locked. That's my prediction. That's what I want. But I'm good with whatever Longo wants to do. Again, I don't get paid to be a coach. I don't even get paid to do this. But either way, that's just what I see. I get players in space, I think, is also going to be very key as well in this. Again, whoever it is, either if it's Matoyer, Locke, or even Bailey, either way, the keys to the game still lie within that when it comes to the offense. My prediction, though, I'm going to take a drink here. Mainly because it's my birthday on Saturday, I'm going to take the... I don't know. It's going to be a stupidly close game. I already know it is going to be just a weird game. I'm sure. I wonder how Delaware fans are viewing this. I wonder if they view it as a little bit of a trap game. I don't know. Thing is, the Bearkats are coming off of their first win of the season, but the Delaware Blue Hens are coming off of a tough win against La Tech, where they really had to grind it out. And we saw Delaware special teams put on a great display against La Tech, especially that onside kick that got them set up to win the game. I wonder, though, if this win by the Bearkats gives them a little bit more loose and all that. They're like, okay, we finally got the win underneath our belt, boys. Let's go out there and keep on playing football. We still got 3 more games to go. You know what? Since it's my birthday, why the hell? Why the hell not? Bearkats win. Whatever. What's going to happen? All I ask for really is a great game. Bearkats win. I'm going to say by a final score of like 19-2. I'm going to say like 25-22 or whatever. Some crazy score or whatever. I don't know. Bearkats win. Whatever. Sue me. Bearkats win, whatever. But if you liked this podcast and you like more Bearkat talk, subscribe today to Sam Houston Sports Talk. Follow us all of our social media outlets. Luke will, of course, be back for the preview pod. Maybe not so. New work hours for me. It's been quite hard to really do a lot. But hopefully you'll enjoy this. Get ready for Delaware versus Sam Houston at Shell Energy Stadium, 6 p.m. Central Time. of course, in Shell Energy Stadium. If you can't make it to the game, it's on ESPN Plus. Very interesting matchup coming in. Going into this one, we'll see what happens. But hey, I'm not calling Sam Houston the one because it's my birthday. I'm biased as hell, folks. It is what it is, though. But as always, guys, eat 'em up, cats. 2 things. Have a great rest of your week. And if you are going to the game, get there safely. See y'all then.